Good morning.
Good morning, Alex. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Be Sober podcast by me, Lisa.
And me, Alex. Alex with a really croquet voice. Lisa might say it was sexy.
I thought you were going to spell your name like Alex with an A or something. That's what I thought you were going to say.
No, I've proper lost my voice.
Oh, what a shame.
It will be a shame. I'm doing a workplace talk for us this afternoon.
That one commenter on YouTube that time will be absolutely buzzing.
Yeah, what a wanker. Let's start as we mean to go on. What did they say? Talks about herself too much. Oh, well,
Yeah.
sorry, it's only my podcast
You know
again.
what? So I feel like we've not spoke for ages and ages and ages. Why is this?
It's because you were on holiday and I was in London. So 2 weeks on the run, we actually haven't spoken in ages and
Oh, it's
ages.
been forever. I've missed you.
I've missed you. I
I
actually
have.
have missed you.
I've
Uh,
been dying to talk to you. We've been filling our podcast chat up
I'm
with
gonna
our
sorry,
little
Lisa, I'm gonna
notes.
mute for a second while I finish putting my earrings in because I'm always
Oh,
late.
that's really handy on an audible
Oh,
podcast.
I
Like, how
won't mute.
noisy
Hold
do
on.
you
I'll
put
just
your
balance
earrings
it. For
in?
anyone who's watching, I'll just balance it here while I
Like, I thought you thought they were going to make like a noise.
No.
Did I tell you at the time I had to go to the infirmary because of earrings?
Yeah,
I
last
think
time. That's I think what that was what we were talking about because you were convinced that the back was hidden in your ear.
I've still got a lump in my ear
You
from
still
that.
think it's in your ear?
No, well, I don't know. I've never found that earring, and there's still a lump in my ear, so I don't know.
So
I
maybe.
don't know. And Rob still swears he didn't take it out when I was in bed, so we will
It's all a
see.
bit suspicious. Go on, tell me what you were going to tell me anyway. I'm here now.
Well, I was just looking at our podcast chat.
Oh, it's
So
funny, isn't it?
so we have a WhatsApp and we just put our little notes in. I think we spoke about this last time and now
Yeah, we
Alex
did.
puts like full details in it. Anyway, she's changed it. She's up to game this week. So the first thing on Friday, the 12th of July, she puts in dogs Willie. Like nothing else, dogs Willie.
Can I confess something?
You
Just
forgot.
put that in to shock you, just because I wanted to show you that I can do stuff in 2 words.
Shut up. That's
Yeah, no, I'm not.
disgusting.
No, that's not the truth. There is a story I have to tell you.
Thank God for that because that's gross.
No, there is a story. Go on, carry on. Oh, do you want to hear the story first before you?
Well, yeah, that's the idea of the podcast chat. So,
Yeah, I don't want to tell you about it. Next. You've just written ooh.
yeah, after you said dogs Willie, that weren't a note. That were me saying ooh.
Right, well, let me tell you. No, no, let me tell you what happened. It is quite a funny story, actually. So, a couple of Thursdays ago, I was ready to go out to lead the choir like I do at the church, and my puppy, who's not quite 5 months old, decided to have like a bit of playtime with its dog bed. Right, so
Oh,
he was humping his bed, but it got a little bit too vigorous, right? And as he must have done something, and I've never seen, I've had male dogs before, but Lisa, I've never seen anything like what happened to my dog. The whole thing and like extra came out of its pouch.
oh, you know what? Georgie's keeps coming out because
This was massive.
well, yours is a big dog.
Yeah, but even for a big dog, there was a lot of willy.
Oh, it's so gross.
And it
Oh,
looked like,
pink.
but the thing was, it got out right. That's not even the funny bit. And then the dog was in like an arched position and couldn't get it back in.
Couldn't get what back in?
It's Willie
Well, how do you know we were trying to get it back in?
because he was walking around in pain with his back all humped up. It was awful. Anyway, so I decided, like, Sam's going, you've got to call the vet. You've got to call the vet. And I'm like, there's nowhere going to be. It's like 7 o'clock. Like, I'm not going to call the emergency vet. I said, I'm on my way out. You're going to have to deal with this. And he's like, no, 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 you've got it. I said, you've got one. You surely know what to do with this. He said, yeah, I've never been like this with mine. Anyway, so I eventually just had this brainwave that Jenny, who's the children's minister at the church, was a vet.
Oh, it's making me feel sick, this conversation.
He's such a prude.
It's so gross.
So I phoned Jenny up, but Sam didn't know she used to be a vet. So he just thought I'd phone Jenny to like tell her about the situation mid-crisis.
Yeah.
Which I hadn't. I phoned her up and I was like, Jenny, I'm really sorry to bother you, but my dog's willy's stuck out. And honestly, and this is what I said, and it looks like its testicles are out as well. Now, can I just say they weren't, but that's how much of it looked like it was out. It was almost too much. So she was like giggling in the background, and obviously she's got a whole family there. So she was not prepared for me to intrude in their evening with a whole dog willy conversation. So she said, have you got any KY jelly? I was like, no. Funnily enough, Jenny, I don't stock KY jelly. She went, what about any lube? I'm like,
Yeah,
no.
I just said, would lube be all right? Could you not be like, but then I don't think you want to talk to the minister about like, I'll run upstairs and get the lube.
Honestly, even if I wanted to talk about it, I don't have any. But what I couldn't get my head around was, why didn't she just say, have you got any Vaseline or have you got any coconut oil? Because they're things that most people have knocking around. Anyway, so she suggested that I had to help the dog maneuver it back inside its pouch.
Oh, this is disgusting.
Anyway, while we're on
It's
the phone,
giving me anxiety. I don't know whether it's a coffee or this conversation.
while I was on the phone, the dog did something. There was a bit of a yelp and it started to go back in on its own. So there was a bit of a sigh of relief that I did not have to maneuver the willy in. But then when it went back in, because it had been so far out, it pulled all its skin inside. So he turned his own pouch inside out.
I can't bear it.
So I had to get the dog's skin and
Oh,
maneuver it.
no. No,
I did.
I've got to say, I don't think I'd have done any of this.
Well, I did. And anyway, all the hair that had gone back inside then came out and everything was all right. But the funny thing was that I then proceeded to go down to the church and I can't keep anything in. So literally I told my 75-year-old choir that I'd been maneuvering the dog's willy out of its pouch.
Oh, that is disgusting.
That's
I can't bear anymore. Like we had so much to talk about, and I know Holly's who we've got on as a guest today is really excited. Is she in the room?
Not yet. I'll tell you when she's in the room. Don't worry.
Oh,
she's just appeared in the room now, so I'm just going to send her a message that we'll be there in a few minutes while we carry on this conversation because there is quite a lot to say.
I know, but I don't think we're going to be able to get it all in, to be honest. So
I reckon we can get a little bit more.
We might have to do a little bonus episode.
Or we could just stay on at the end. Should we stay on at the end today and finish our conversation so people get a bit extra of us talking crap?
Yeah, we could do.
We
don't know whether we're going to do this or not. This could be a surprise. It could not.
Yeah, so let's do that.
Filter through anyway.
If we feel like chatting, if we've got anything else to say that we don't manage to talk about with Holly, we will stay on at the end and finish the episode because just while we are here, this is probably the last in this season before we take a little break and then we'll be back. Anyway, do you want to talk about Holly a little bit? Or do you just want to do it?
Well, no, we might as well let her in. She's dead excited to come on today, so I can't wait to see her. She's just sent me a picture. She's got a sign on her front door saying, do not disturb or something. Let me have a look. What's it say? Is she coming in? Oh,
she's on her way in. Don't worry.
Do not knock. Sorry, recording a podcast. I used to do that on mine. Do you remember? And now I just answer my door.
Yeah, you just bugger off now mid-conversation, don't you? Hi, Holly.
Hello. How are you doing?
How are you?
Hi, lovely. How are you doing?
Yeah, good. Thank you. It's nice to meet you.
Yeah, lovely to meet you too, Alex. When I listen to your podcasts, I'm always like, yeah, I can't tell which is Lisa now.
Really? I find that dead hard to believe that people can't tell us apart. But I guess that, you don't really, I don't know.
Oh, literally, you sound like you could be identical twin sisters.
Not funny. Because
I love that different. Because Alex thinks she's got a posher accent now. So thank you, Holly.
I have got a posher accent. I won't be having any of this nonsense. Moving on. I lost my voice actually today, so you might get a little bit of a break from me talking too much. Doubt it, but I'll do my best.
You can't tell someone you've lost your voice with a voice. Like, it's not
what I mean?
lost. There.
All right, I'm losing. I'll put it into the correct context. It's gone a bit croaky.
Oh.
There you
Too much talking, or are you poorly?
I have been poorly, right? Well, this brings me to one of our stories. I'm going to tell it now because you've asked. I went down to London this last week. I'm not going to tell all the London stuff, but on the train on the way down, right? So my little boy had been poorly. He'd had suspected scarlet fever that turned out to be slap cheek. And on the way down there, I had a bit of a sore throat. And then all of a sudden, I am not joking. I'm going to do this on screen for people who are watching. And I did record a video. So if anyone's questioning my exaggeration here, I promise I'm not. I'll show Lisa the video to prove it. I was sat on the train and all of a sudden my lips started to go like this. But not with my finger in place, right? So for anyone who can't see, it was like when you get an eye twitch, my lip was twitching on the left side of my mouth, my top lip.
Like Elvis.
But yeah, it's never happened before, right? Never happened.
Well, it has happened before.
Well, it might have done, but it never happened to me before.
No, it's happened to you before when we did the cold water dip.
No, that was
literally
like a
what it did.
stroke. That was different. That was different, right? The cold water thing, I got a numb face and my mouth fell and I looked like I'd had a stroke. With this one, it was tingling and twitching and I felt like I was having a stroke. How I imagine that feels. So I thought I was having a stroke, right? Obviously, I wasn't having a stroke. It was absolutely fine. And the GP basically told me to stop worrying. It was just a twitchy lip and I needed to get over myself. Right? That's what it was. But since then, I think what it was genuinely is all my sinuses had been compressed against the nerve. And that's what he thought. So, in answer to your question, in a really long winded, boring way, I've not been well.
Oh, sorry.
It's like one of them moments, Holly, where you really wish you hadn't have asked. I don't even think she asked. I think she was just saying, hiya, how are you?
I know, and all I did was went, guess what? I've got no voice. I'm not well. Here's my London story.
Oh,
Anyway, Holly, I have met you before, haven't I? At a walk that one of our ambassadors, Barbara, organised ages ago. But you've been up to so much stuff since then. So firstly, do you want to do a little bit of an introduction and tell us what you've been up to?
Yeah, sure thing. So, I mean, I stopped drinking. Well, I started my sober journey at the 1st of January 2023. And at the time, I was trapped in the cycle of binge drinking every weekend, feeling like absolute crap all week. But then as soon as it got to Thursday, oh, time for Prosecco, you know. And it was just this constant cycle. I was working part-time in recruitment. I'd been in recruitment for 14 years and I'd gone to kind of self-employed and part-time to work with childcare. And I think having that freedom and independence and no accountability of going in the office and anybody saying to me, like, it made it a lot easier to get away with drinking as well in the week. So yeah, I was just really stuck in a rut, January 2023, really stuck in a rut. But fast forward to now, I'm now a alcohol-free coach.
Yeah.
I'm running wellness and sobriety retreats. I'm booked in to start yoga teacher training in January next year. And I'm so kind of launching a platform called Soda Dates for people that want to go on a date or connect with people, but without alcohol involved. So, and I've left my recruitment day job. I quit 2 weeks ago.
Amazing. So all that since the 1st of January 2023. And for future listeners, today is the 24th of July 2024. That's like a lot of stuff in it within your first couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely massive. But you know, before I was going to say before I started drinking, I started drinking when I was 12, so it's probably not really the best example. But yeah, before I was 12, I was quite a motivated, hardworking person.
Before I was 12.
And I've got that back. I've got my best back. I like to learn, and yeah, it's all come back after 30 odd years of caning the booze. So
That's
like glimmers
amazing.
of it though, aren't they? You know, like throughout your life. Because I always say that, or before I was a drinker, but that would have made me like 12, 13. But the truth is that throughout your drinking, you have periods where it's probably not heightened as much as others. So in those times, you see that little version of the real you peeping through, don't you? And then you get consumed in what you're doing again.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you say, you know, you'll have known that you were always motivated and driven and wanting to learn, but you don't make time for those things when you're drinking. Not because you're pissed all the time, but just because
Yeah,
it's
you
not
don't
high
know.
priority to spend time on you. You go out, you get drunk, you're having a laugh.
Yeah.
I genuinely don't think I knew who I was before I stopped drinking. Honestly,
I still
I
don't. I know
really
you better than you know you now, I reckon. You had a full meltdown yesterday. What did I do 10 years ago, Alex? Hold on a minute. I'll just get the date.
No, I do. I think what I really want to talk to you about actually is this sober dating app because I just think it's such an interesting subject. So, firstly, why a sober dating app?
Well, since I went sober and joined a few communities, especially I've got a lot of friends from the Dry app, and my best friends on there are all single, and they're literally like, we're doomed to be single forever because they don't want to go on a date because the chances are the date is going to rock up expecting them to drink or having had a drink themselves. So if you go on a date for the first time and you're in your mid-40s, I mean, the chances of them not expecting you to drink alcohol is probably pretty slim to none.
Yeah.
And my best friends as well up here in Leeds, they mostly don't drink just because they're a lot more mature than me and they realised it was quite a long time ago. I'm always the last to catch up, but you know, they're all saying I can't go on a date because I don't want people to think I'm boring and I don't want to drink. Like my best friend was going to go on a date with a guy she'd been chatting with on one of the, you know, typical chat platforms. And she said, well, I can't go on a date because it's a Sunday. And I went, and she said, well, I'll be expected to drink and I've got work the next day. And I was like, someone has got to change the rhetoric on this. It just can't carry on like this. And then another girl I know who's one of the sober butterflies went on a date and the guy turned up really drunk and she was like, how do I get out of this situation? She actually didn't feel that safe. And like,
Yeah, I get that.
safety is another aspect that I've started to think about while I've been developing this as well, because like, you know, I always say, like, your mum always said, don't take sweets from a stranger, right? So why would you go and get pissed with a stranger?
Can
We
we talk
talk about
about
this, you
getting
know, there's
pissed
so
with
many risky
strangers?
situations that we've been in over the years.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I
Not
want to talk
realizing.
about,
Yeah,
Alex.
yeah.
Have you ever like been on a date? Let's talk about piss dating. I
It
just
was,
thought it'd be
there was
so
never the type
interesting.
of dating for me. It was always piss dating. I mean, because I've been married now for like 8 years. So yeah.
So you're married. That's really interesting. So you're married and then you've developed this app. Oh,
Yeah.
I've got so much I want to talk
My
about.
friends, because I
I
really
want
want
to
my
ask about
friends to
this.
be
I
happy.
love that. What a good friend are you?
Get a pen and paper, will you, Lisa, and start writing down your points. Bloody hell, they're all coming out in one
I
go.
know, I'm too excited. Right,
She's
let's
got
talk.
anxiety because of me talking about my dog's Willie. You'll hear it when you listen to it
Oh,
back.
it's disgusting. In fact, I hope people have fast forwarded to this.
Before
But
we
let's
talk
talk
about
about
drunk dating,
dating
Lise.
in general then, because like I do think it is a really difficult thing to do, and lots of people have a drink for that little bit of Dutch courage.
Yeah.
But like, if you are like, I'm going to say us because we was all kind of binge drinkers, you can end up in really dangerous situations, can't you? Like I remember going on a date. Me and Alex had gone into Manchester. Do you remember?
Oh God, don't.
We'd gone
I've got
out on a
anxiety
night.
now. Oh.
We'd gone out on a night out, and then I ended up agreeing to this date with this guy, and then went on a date with this guy a few weeks later. I don't even remember much of the date. I did end up dating somebody else that I met on the train on the way to that date, actually.
Yeah.
But this is all because of Dutch courage. Do you know what I mean? Like now, if I go to Manchester on a train, I don't speak to anybody. How did I manage to end up dating somebody? It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you know, though, the other side, the flip side of that is, and this is what I was just going to add to it, is when Lisa did get sober and she did try dating again, the profile that she put out, and it relates to what you were just saying about people, you know, being a bit scared that they're going to get pressured. The profile Lisa put out there were no way anyone had dated her, let alone a sober.
Oh, it was so.
Yeah. What did you say? I'm sober and I like walks.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go on a date with you.
Honestly, she was like, I don't want this person. I don't want that person. I don't want that person. I said, it's like bloody practical magic. I don't know if you've seen it with Nicole Kidman and Sandra Bullock in it. And she makes up, because she gets her heart broken, she makes up this wish of a man with a star as his favourite shape and one blue eye and one green. And it's like, he's never going to exist, this man. And honestly, that was Lisa.
Well, the thing is, you do get more picky and you do raise your standards across all areas of your life when you quit drinking, don't you? So,
yeah,
you know, I can't blame you.
I think you're dating, the people you choose to date changes. Like, so when I did stop drinking, I remember going on kind of some of the dating apps and looking at the type of guys I would have dated before, and then having to really change it. And I think it's really hard to change your profile on standard dating apps to say things like you don't drink, because you don't get the same attention, basically. You don't, which can then lead to you feeling quite shit about yourself. Do you know what I mean? So,
but
like,
you don't want the attention from all those people who are drinking either. So
no,
it isn't
but you've got to learn that, I think, haven't you? Because especially if it's in the early days, because you do want that attention, and then you've got to kind of learn to respect yourself enough to know that you don't want that attention and to kind of hang fire. Do you know what I mean? It's really hard. I went on a date early on and I'd put on that I 100% didn't want to meet somebody that drank. And I changed my wording a little bit, if I remember rightly.
You had to, bloody hell. You
so
did
something
change it.
like, I didn't want to, I can't remember what it was.
It was
but
something like, I don't want a tea time drinker, wasn't it?
No, it was something like, I didn't want people who only drank to have a good time.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then what I found were the only people that wanted to, like, got in contact were like triathlon people and that.
Oh yeah, you had like dead like boring
Yeah,
sports
well, I
people.
don't have a lot in common with people that do triathlon.
Yeah. And, you know, we all know that when you do stop drinking, like, not the fact that you don't drink isn't your identity. You've got so much more about your life, but in something other than a dating app where all you've got is the first kind of like appearance, then I don't think you should have to label yourself.
Yeah.
And this is just a space. There are so many people that are sober curious. They don't want to say I'm sober curious. And a lot of people are anyway, but don't actually call it that. And
yeah, well, they're not even, or they don't even know they are.
yeah, absolutely.
Does your husband drink, Holly?
No, he stopped. He did the 1 year no beer in 2019. And then I was a bit like, come on, you boring bastard, have a glass of wine with dinner. You know, I was the pusher. But, you know, I caught up eventually.
Oh, well done.
So,
that's nice to kind of see that the other way around, actually, because we always see it the other way. That's really interesting.
So you see, my husband doesn't drink and Lisa's partner doesn't drink. So none of them drink. So I guess we've either fallen extremely lucky or we've, certainly from my perspective, just a real big control freak.
or how about you're so in love that you respect your partner so much and you see what an amazing life they're developing from not drinking, you think, I want a piece of that.
Yeah, I think that does happen. Definitely.
I think you lead by example. I mean, the thing is, I was going out and getting, when I did start to be sober curious in 2022, every time I then went out, I was getting more, you know, horrifically drunk. You know, even a trip to the pub for 3 hours, I'd be coming home being sick and banging my head on the side of the bath. You know, I was having these stints of sobriety of 3 or 4 weeks and then getting in a right state. And it was just our relationship, you know, it was just getting like, why would he want to be in a relationship with someone who's like, what kind of a role model was I being to the kids?
But you see it now, don't you? Because you can see now how you wouldn't want to date anybody who was drinking. So why would we expect our long-term partners to date somebody or be with somebody who is drinking to excess as well?
What would you do now, Alex, if Sam went out and got smashed?
Well, this is a funny topic actually that I was going to talk about later. So we're going on holiday next April. And Sam said to me, because basically there's a number of us going for his dad's birthday and we're all staying in a villa. So his younger brother's going to go. My son's going to go. My 19-year-old son does have a drink. He's not silly with it, not excessive. And in the whole time that I've been sober, Sam's had one occasion where he had a drink, and it was in the first year, and it was his brother's 21st birthday. And he went out and had a drink with him, and then he stopped, and he's never drunk since. So 5 years. And he actually said to me, I might have a drink on that holiday in April. Honestly, I feel I'm really having to work hard on myself to and I said to him, why have you told me that? I got really bad anxiety about it. And he said, because I know that you need to come to terms with it over the next 8 months, that I might want to have a drink. And I'm like, yeah, but why would you do that? You're 5 years sober. Why would you want to do it? Why would? And he's, look, I want the option, Alex. Stop trying to control it. I'm finding it really tough. So I don't know. I was going to put it out there.
I think if he did drink, he'd feel so horrendous the next day.
Oh, yeah, he
For
would.
under 5 years. And
do you know what? He's not a good drinker anyway, my husband, as in, Sam's always been able to have a drink and then not have one for months. So he's never had an issue at all, not in any stretch of the imagination. He literally stopped drinking for a year to support me and has just never bothered. So he doesn't really say I'm sober. He doesn't feel the need to say I'm sober. It's just a given that he doesn't drink. So if he does have a drink, he will probably have 3 or 4 pints and then that will be it. But still, it's giving me really bad anxiety.
Rob's like that, you know. He was never a big drinker anyway. He's never drank since I've met him. He's always said I'd never say never. Like if he went on a lad's holiday, he's never been on one in like the 3 years we've been together, but he probably would. And I just find it like he always said he only had a couple anyway. So I'd think I probably wouldn't be that bothered. But if I saw him drunk, I would just totally unfancy him right that minute. Like honestly, because I've never ever seen it. We've never been drunk together. I've just never seen him drunk. I knew him at primary school. He was never drunk then. And he was a geek at high
they were
school.
12.
So I think it would kind of like absolutely freak me out. Drunk people, I don't find attractive anyway. I've got to be honest now. I can walk through, you know, if we walk through Manchester at night,
yeah,
and you can see like it's that glazed look in people's eyes. It makes me feel uneasy. And so I totally get why there is an absolute need for like sober dating apps or a space for people to date safely, because I just think I wouldn't like it. I really wouldn't.
So if, in my situation, what would you be like, do you think?
Oh, I wouldn't like it. I would struggle as well.
I get Sam's need for the choice, because what he actually said was, because I then brought it up a few days later and I was like, oh, I don't know how I feel about it. And he was like, look, I'm not saying I'm going to do, but I have to have the autonomy to decide. It can't be you trying to control this.
Yeah, that's true. It is completely true.
Yeah,
it just messes with our heads a little bit, doesn't it? So I think I would be a bit like you. I think I'd have to have a little bit of time to get my head around it.
7 months.
Yeah, 7 months would be fine, I think. But then I think I would make a plan for that occasion. So like if they were drinking, I think I'd have to say, look, I actually don't want to see you all pissed. Like, so I'm going to do something else on that day or that night. I think I'd rather, but I'm like that anyway. If I don't like something, I close my eyes, and we discussed that on the last podcast. Actually, I pretend it's not happening. So I would rather not be a part of it and not see it, and then listen to how shit he feels the day after and sit there going.
Have you tried?
I'm not sure I want to be a part of it, but I don't think I'll get FOMO as in I want to do it. But this part of me wants to say, and I don't know if I have said it actually, I might have done. Well, how would you feel if it was me saying I'm just going to have a drink on one night out? But I know his answer would be, Yeah, but you wouldn't leave it there. You would want to have a drink the next week and the next week. And he's probably right, to be fair. Even though I think I could control it completely, I've said it not very long ago. I feel like I could have a night out on the drink, then not touch it. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do it. I don't want to risk it because I don't know if I would.
I don't think you would.
What do you think? What do you
What
mean?
were you going to say, Holly?
I just think, like, you know, when you've struggled with stopping something before, all it takes is one session and you've opened the door again wide open. Like, because the neural network to being pissed and to go into that mode is so strong when you've been like a regular drinker for decades and decades. You can be sober for 2 or 3 years, but one big night out, it's all your brain needs to be like, boom, you're back there now.
It happened with my dad,
I
didn't
hear
it?
that. So it's really interesting. I've been listening to a few people on TikTok, and there's a girl on there that I know, and she actually runs a sober community. And she drank the other week, and she was like, I feel like I've got to this point where I'm more controlled. Like, she's always said that she didn't want to binge drink anymore, and she started. So she had to drink. She didn't really enjoy it all that much, but a little bit like Sam, she didn't want to be controlled by a TikTok audience that genuinely do follow her because of the sobriety to begin with. And she wanted to have that choice. But I think it's just so hard when you talk about things like that. But I struggle in this because I never found it hard to give up. It, you know, like these people that tried and tried and tried, and you speak about struggling a little bit more
At the
than I ever
beginning.
did with, like, I made a decision to stop drinking for 100 days, and I'm 6 years on. And I think a lot of things that stop me starting again are in the groups. I see people that have gone back to day one and highly regretted it. The obstacle course by Claire Pooley is really, really in my mind about how
You're in the
hard
field
it
of
would
bunnies
be.
now, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm in the field of bunnies. Why do I want to go back? And like, honestly, and when I walk down the canal and on the lake, there's two separate fields with bunnies in them, and I never don't walk past and think, I've got you. I'm here. I'm here. And I
I
wouldn't
feel like that. I
want to
feel
go
like that.
back.
My dad did it after 9.5 years of sobriety, had a drink and went back, and it killed him. Yeah, and it did. You know, like 6 months on, it was what really brought I mean, potentially brought the end about. And that was 9.5 years, and he was living his best life in that 9.5 years. So I do feel like, does everybody get a little bit complacent, and do you have to just stay on guard all the time? Because I never had the issues my dad had at all, and I wouldn't consider myself as having a problem with alcohol, but I was definitely a problem drinker. I would drink on a problem. I would drink for stress. I would drink emotionally. I was an
Yeah,
emotional
I
drinker.
was like that. But I
Yeah.
think the one thing that people really underestimate is how powerful the drug is, that is alcohol.
Yeah.
So if you met someone and they'd stayed off heroin for 9 years and they were like, I just might have one more hit, like, you know, just for old time's sake, what do you reckon? Because everyone else was doing it and because it's so normalized and glamorous. And if you do it, you'll be successful and sexy and hot and earn loads of money. You know, it's just, we need to change the way that we look at it. You know, it's a drug, it's really powerful, and it'll hit us. And if we think we'll be all right if we have one drink, then that's just because we're watching other people around us who are all right, or seemingly all
Yeah,
right.
and the reason we stopped is because we weren't like them other people. We couldn't just do that in the first place. I know I could. I've said it loads. Like, I think if I went and drank with Rob and said, right, come on, we'll have a night out. One, it honestly, I don't like the idea of doing it. The only thing that I like the idea of sometimes is letting my inhibitions go a little bit, like going and
Not caring, having a dance.
yeah, and not caring and going out and having a dance. But actually, truthfully, when we did Be Wild last year, not last year, the other month,
This year,
we had a silent disco, and that whole weekend, everybody let their inhibitions go. People were dancing, they were doing things that they'd never done before. So actually, if you are surrounded by the right people, then all them inhibitions go. So I'm thinking, when I think, oh, I'd like to do that, it's that I'd like to do it with the old people, but I don't actually want to be with them old people. Do you know what I mean? Does that
You
make
can
sense?
crave that old connection because you had it for
Yeah.
so long, and that's what it is for me. I look back with, the rose-tinted glasses at that kind of group of girls at the pub, and I think I'd love a little afternoon with them, but unfortunately, it's not that simple, and it has consequences. So
Yeah, and
There's the
actually, where
fading
the fuck
effect.
have they been anyway since you've been sober? Do you know what I mean? That's what I think.
Yeah, and
When
also
I
don't
look at the
forget,
old cravings that I get, I'm like, where the fuck have all them people been? They've not even
sort
like,
of phoned you up or texted you, not that you
no.
wanted to appear on your doorstep because you'd be freaking out. But like there's this fading effect bias as well. So the further away we move from the disaster, the less we kind of see it as a disaster and the more glorified it becomes. It's like, I've talked about this years back on the podcast. It's like childbirth, isn't it? The reason we have more children is because you forget how awful birth is.
I never bloody forgot.
Yeah, well, you do. You forget. You forget instantly how just disgusting it is.
And it's also
It's
like
not
life.
disgusting.
It's life threatening. You can die. We can die. The baby can die. Everyone could die. But, oh God, it's awful. Well,
I don't mean like disgusting as in ew disgusting. I mean the pain and the
I know, but we've been talking
awful.
like, ooh, disgusting about your dog's willy. And now we can't use the same words associated with childbirth.
Yeah, but it's not a nice, pleasant experience. Like getting the baby healthy and safe and everything.
I
at the
feel
end
like I
is.
look back on mine like glorious.
There you go. There's exhibit A, fading effect bias. I bet you've forgotten all about the lump of placenta that was at the side here.
Oh no, that felt nice coming out afterward. That's the after bit, isn't it? That's beautiful compared to a baby. That's like slop it out.
Call the afterbirth beautiful. That's as bad as me calling
People
childbirth
eat that.
disgusting.
People eat that shit, Alex. Clearly, it's pretty good.
Oh dear.
I never ate mine, just to put it out there. Maybe if I'd have had a baby in my older years, I'd probably give it a go, to be honest.
You know what? My cousin had hers made into tablets.
I've heard that.
She did. She had it made into tablets and took them.
Just go to Holland and Barrett and buy some iron.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what I think. I've seen like a program ages ago where people cooked it up and that and offered it out to the family when they'd come out.
Cannibalism, innit?
Instead of
I'd have loved to have done that to you. If you'd have come to see me after having the babies, I'd have loved to offer you some of my placenta.
Oh, I'm not coming round again ever. I don't know what I'm eating and drinking there.
No, you can't talk. You carried your baby's disgusting thing around for
the belly
years on a
button.
keyring. Who does that?
Well, my dad started it.
Oh, it's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting.
See, childbirth, disgusting. There's a good word for it.
I take it all back. It's disgusting.
Tell us a little bit more about how this app's going to work then, Holly, and when it's expected to come out. So what how are you going to get people signing up, keeping them safe? Have you given it that much thought?
At the moment, we've got a landing page and we are putting a pitch together to go for investment, basically, because obviously it's going to need a lot of marketing. And I'm doing some digital CEO accelerator program with this awesome crazy Latino lady called Jamela Figas, who won The Apprentice. So I'm learning how to do digital
wow, well done you.
But I don't know if I'll have the the necessary skills up to speed in time to get this kind of launch. We thought it'd be nice to have it ready for January, because a lot of people obviously dry Jan.
Yeah.
It makes perfect sense for it to happen then. So all being well, that's when the app will be launched. But really, we just want to really make it crystal clear to people. It's not just for sober people. It's for people that want to go on a date that doesn't involve alcohol.
Okay, so it's a little bit like what we say about our Be Wild trip. You can come along as long as you don't drink on that weekend.
Yeah,
exactly. Because the thing is, right, if you're a drinker and you're scared of the alcohol-free space, you're less likely to kind of dip your toe in it. Whereas if there's a space that you can go to when you are still a drinker, where you can get to know that actually people that don't drink aren't aliens with two heads, or librarians. Not there's anything wrong with librarians, but people that do drink, as I'm sure like you, and you're probably the same as I was, we were quite judgmental about people that didn't drink, let's face it.
Yeah, Lisa wouldn't even speak
Thought
to
there was something wrong. just a way to kind of like integrate the two worlds, because hopefully, you know, 50 years time, people will look back and view alcohol the way that, you know, we look at cigarettes.
I think they will.
Just trying to facilitate some kind of way for like the movement to have a space for people to go, and you know, probably it will end up becoming a community platform where you can have, you know, go on a girls' night out with a load of girls.
Oh, I'd love that. Yeah.
And also, you know, more and more venues have got alcohol-free options now. So we want to collaborate and do recommendations of places for people to go, and hopefully they'd get a little bit of a discount on the mocktails or on the AF beers, because obviously at the moment AF beers are the same price as normal beers, which is crazy. So it would be nice
We
to,
found out why, you know.
because they've got a short shelf life. Is that right? Short shelf life.
Well, we think we found out why. Apparently, the woman who told me and Lisa when we were on a night out that they were just as expensive is because basically they are processed in exactly the same way. There's no difference in the way it's made.
Yeah.
So it doesn't actually cost any less to bottle it, to brew it.
I don't mind as much now paying for a good alcohol-free drink as I did in the early days. I think when I was in like my first year or two, I'd be like, why should I be paying that much when I'm not even drinking?
But that just shows you how much you valued the alcohol of it, didn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Whereas now I'm like, actually, I'll go for a more expensive drink, or, you know, I don't mind paying for it if the effort has been put into it. Like that, yeah. And they have a lot of like wines and stuff now that are de-alcoholized rather than, do you know what I mean? And I kind of, that tells me that they've put a bit of effort into it, like kombucha and stuff like that.
Oh, I love a kombucha.
As long as people have worked for it, I don't mind paying for it.
I don't drink them really anymore, you know. Hardly ever.
Anymore.
I mean, I'm going to a party on Thursday for my auntie's 70th, which is fine for me to say because it's a surprise one, but this will have gone out after. And they will all be pissed. They will, because that's what my family do. And I will probably take some alcohol-free stuff there, but only because, not to fit in now anymore, which is weird. It would have been to fit in, but now it will because it feels like a special occasion, and I want to make it special with my alcohol-free drink.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've just realised that right now.
It's rare I have one. Do you drink them, Holly?
Hardly.
Yeah.
I think the alcohol-free red I had on Christmas Day at my mum's, because every person in the room was drinking red wine, and I thought I need a glass of red wine in my hand that isn't red wine, just so I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything. Of course, I knew I wasn't, but just sipping it, and I just felt so proud. I was like, my face isn't going pink. I'm not talking over everyone. I'm not swearing, and the volume went up. Everyone was effing and jeffing, and you know, then the aggression comes out, and I was just like, thank God I'm not part of it this year. So
I'm still really dubious of alcohol-free red wine, because I've just never, I had a sip of one that my mum got from Tesco. She said it was the best one ever, and I tried it like last year, and I actually thought, oh, that is quite good actually. But wine, I've like had alcohol-free Prosecco, mocktails and lager, but actual wine I've stayed away from.
You know why I've stayed away from red wine? Because the first one I had, I literally went in Tesco's, Marks and Spencer's, Waitrose. I think I did about 4 big shops and tried every single bottle of red wine that I could find, and they were all shit.
Yeah, they would be in the early days.
I never found a red wine that tasted like red wine, and red wine was my drink, so I've just never bothered, and I've never gone back. I would love to find a good red wine, but I don't know whether that's because I still want the taste of the red wine that I used to have. So maybe I shouldn't.
Thing is, I think like your taste buds change so much, don't they, when you stop drinking? You can taste so much more different things. But when I smell, the worst is smelling white wine on someone's breath when they're talking to me this close. I'm just like, oh my God. And it's like you can almost see it evaporating off their lungs into your space, and you're like, oh God, get it away from me.
Yeah.
And then the red wine in the corners of the mouth.
Oh, that's funny.
My ex
Let me tell you about a time, and I'm like, please leave me alone.
Disgusting. He always had red wine there, and then he grew a pot belly, and you'd see dribbles of red wine.
Yeah.
It was disgusting.
I did have some amazing cocktails at this place I went to in Birmingham on Saturday. It's one of apparently there's only 5 alcohol-free bars in the UK, so this is one of them. And they
There's
have
only 5.
apparently,
Get out.
well, there's definitely none in Leeds.
There's one in
That's
Manchester
crazy. I
now.
thought there is one in Manchester.
I think Love From's closing.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh,
Got
that'd
piss
be
spots in
too hard.
Manchester, that's why.
You went to Exhale in Birmingham, didn't you, for Sober Dave's 60th birthday?
Yeah.
I saw that actually, and I've been there, and I
Yes.
agree. The drinks are incredible. In fact, we spoke about them on a podcast, Alex, because we were staying away from Sentia drinks, weren't we, after we'd done that podcast
Oh,
with
that Sencha stuff, yeah.
what we called?
Professor Nut.
Yeah, that one.
Oh my God, were you challenging to do your 30-day break? I was changing my son's bed listening to the podcast, and you were like, I can't believe you still drink. I think you need to try our challenge. And I was going, oh my God, it's Professor Stephen.
No, she was like that. Well, Professor. Lisa was like that. Well, Professor, you're not too old. You should try this. And I'm thinking, Lisa, shut up. Shut up.
It's true. Like, come on.
Good
Our
for you, good
podcast
for
is
you.
called Be Sober, innit? Like, don't just use us as a marketing campaign. Don't you get pissed and then come on here thinking everyone will buy you drinks.
He really, can I just put it out there that he actually wasn't pissed on the day?
No, he wasn't pissed.
But listen, don't you think that
He liked
shows
his red wine.
the power of alcohol? Because
Yeah.
he's there producing reports saying this is the most dangerous drug
Yeah.
by far of anything, yet I still drink.
Yeah.
Why? Because I'm old. Nah, you've bought into the rhetoric. You're just one of the victims then if you're saying that.
He did say he loves red
absolutely
wine. He
agree.
said he really enjoys red wine. I actually want to get him back on the podcast to talk about
Magic
what was it?
mushrooms.
magic. It wasn't just magic mushrooms, but yeah, all that psilocybin and all that.
Yeah. Well, I don't think they're being allowed to use psilocybin for the research because of the laws that we've got. They're having to use ketamine instead, for antidepressants and stuff like that.
What they use ketamine for? Antidepressants.
Yeah, they're using ketamine to treat mental health conditions.
It sedates people.
I know.
Because the UK won't license psilocybin, which is ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. Give them a
whole
whole
They have in Canada, they have in loads of European countries. Australia, they're licensing it, I think this year in May.
Imagine not licensing psilocybin that grows wild in the field.
Yeah, but you could say that with loads of stuff. If it's used badly, you've got to use these things properly.
All right, yeah, but I get that. But imagine licensing horse tranquilizer for humans over mushrooms.
It's to do with the pharmaceutical companies, isn't it? Money talks at the end of the day, which we all know.
It is. I do know what
Yeah.
you mean, though. Yeah, you can obviously overdose on anything, and you can use it stupidly.
I know,
can't
it's
you?
like saying, innit, that like, where does heroin come from? Poppies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I don't think that's a valid thing to say. I think it's got to be used wisely.
Yeah, but they won't even license it though for kind of medical grade use, but they'll license something they use in horse tranquilizer. It's crazy. And it's because, like you just said, Holly, it makes a lot more money. Because anybody could just basically get hold of the mushrooms and extract the psilocybin if they were clever enough.
Is that not what we did as kids?
Probably.
Well, I only did the one. I got trapped in a mirror. Never again.
Did
I've
you?
never done
I
'em.
did it when I was about 14, and it was the crazy. Somebody jumped out of the telly at me. They popped
I
out.
think
of
say
the
someone jumped
telly.
out the window.
No. Two of my friends ended up in hospital the day after. And yeah, somebody popped out of the it was a weird experience. Milk bottles dancing and getting home, and my mum had told me somebody had committed suicide and read me this poem. That was a true bit, but I was sat there tripping, thinking, what the hell? Like all the walls were coming in. It was awful experience.
I've never done it. Never ever.
Don't bother.
No, don't bother.
I can't past it all now. If I'm
And
honest.
also, like, we've got perimenopausal brains. We cannot take that shit.
But on the other
Yeah.
hand, apparently, if it's used in a microdosing way, it's really, really good for perimenopause and for other symptoms, brain
I
fog.
feel like Alex is being really pro drugs and alcohol today. Do
Oh,
you,
no.
Holly?
You have no alcohol. No, I'm not being pro alcohol. I am being pro drugs. Some drugs. I just think if drugs can have a therapeutic use and they're used properly and they're developed to be used properly, then it's not such a bad thing. Especially when we're sat there with a class A drug that's legal and killing people and causes 8 different types of cancer and going, yeah, it's all right, you can have that one, but you can't have that one. It's just hypocritical.
It's a minefield, I think, in it. I really struggle, especially like in the sober world. There's so many things, and people do try all sorts of things and still claim that they're sober. And I'm not overly keen on all of it. Do you know what I mean? I really, really struggle with just stay away from drugs, kids. That's what
Okay, let me ask you this, right? I am being here I am again now. Last episode will have been the cacao one.
Yeah.
What's
that's
the difference between?
I don't. So cacao doesn't get you high, does it?
I don't know.
What we spoke about with Liam from Full Power Cacao last week, we had a few different conversations, and I think he's quite pro, like ayahuasca and all stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't know where I stand on it. I feel like if things are done in a really safe environment, in a shamanic way or whatever, then fine. But then I think, no, is it fine? Do you know what I mean? All these people go, yeah, cool, man, wearing t-shirts with mushrooms, saying, yeah, I'm sober, but I get smashed in forests all weekend. Like, I don't know where it.
It's
I
funny.
don't know where I had a right good think about that podcast that we did with Liam, actually, and I don't know where I stand on it.
I'm not
think.
sure. I'm not sure where I stand because I don't know where you draw your line. If we're saying and we're giving the message out that alcohol is glorified and glamorized and dangerous, how can we then say, but that one's all right, or but that one's all right? But on the other hand, if you've got something that's natural and it's opening your mind and it's healing you and it's not causing 8 types of cancer, is that different? And
Yeah,
I'm
but
like
you
you,
need to know
Lise.
what you're doing with this shit.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can't just be going to forests with people having it and saying, yeah, I've been to another planet and now I'm all right, and you come and trying to get people in the forest with
Yeah.
you to do it. Like, I just don't think it's all right.
Have you been invited on an ayahuasca retreat?
I have in the past, yeah. And you know what? Because of my magic mushroom experience, and I'm really grateful that I actually had quite a bad experience as a teenager, because it stopped me from doing loads of other stuff.
Yeah,
because I always had a fear about it.
I think
like
you stopped me because you were terrified of it.
Yeah, when I had friends that were like taking pills and doing stuff like that, like there was no way I would do any of that, because when I was younger, and I don't know if you remember this, you probably will, Alex, the Leah Betts. So there was a big story about Leah Betts, and she'd had an ecstasy and she died and I remember thinking that would be me. If I had that would, so I've always had that element of fear. But then another part of me goes, people like to keep you feared, don't they? To stop you from finding the truth. So who knows?
And there are all
MDMA is also used medicinally.
Yeah.
but there's all these stories though, aren't there, where, and we did briefly touch on this as well, breath work, hallucinogens, like even magic mushrooms, ayahuasca. People report separately that on all of the, breathing deep, like I've just said, or even drowning during all those experiences. Not that I recommend drowning. Not that I recommend drowning, but they say when people who've been brought back from a near-death experience after drowning, they report the same as like deep breath work, and it's all this kind of other dimension to the world. So the thing that makes me curious is how can these 4 or 5 different things that you do all show you this other dimension that potentially could be the truth?
I agree that we don't use our brains to the full capacity, and there's probably things that we can use to like magic mushrooms. When I had them, I was on the exact same trip as the lad that I was with. We were seeing the same thing. It's like we were telepathic. We were literally talking to it. Like, how does that happen? And then when we was normal, like
You've
days
never been
after.
normal.
We was like, we were telepathic. We knew. I still think I'm a bit telepathic anyway.
Well, the
I
thing
think
is, our energy doesn't just stop on the surface of our skin. Our
no, it
energy goes
doesn't.
out. You know, that's
Yeah,
scientifically proven, as well as obviously all of the ancient Eastern religions have believed it for thousands of years. So
yeah,
if you think about it in that terms, you're mixing your energy with people that you're surrounded by. And when you kind of take hallucinogens and you kind of open up that pathway, don't you? But you
yeah,
know, people who are really fantastic at meditation and get into the deepest,
yeah.
craziest depths of meditation, they experience exactly the same thing as the people that take
Yeah.
shrooms. Their minds will do the same. So it's just different ways of reaching that kind of nirvana, I think they call it, don't they?
Yeah.
But you've got to train your brain, take your time, prepare, be in the right place, and build up to it and learn how to get there safely. I don't think it's safe to just jump into like going to a field and
I
taking.
agree. Like, be patient. Do you know what I mean? Like, look, if you can do it
Wait
by
until you're dying
meditation.
from drowning, listeners, and then you'll get there.
I think with some breath work, I've definitely experienced the difference between, like, when I've done breath work, I've realized that I am not my body. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've been in that zone where I realized, like, oh my God, I am literally not my body. Like,
Which is basically ketamine.
yeah. So you know what I mean? Like, stop being impatient, do a bit of breathing.
Don't take the cat, do some breath work.
Yeah.
It's definitely safer.
Yeah, a lot
Well,
safer.
one thing I was going to say is that when you bring it back to alcohol, so you had the mushrooms, it was an awful experience for you and you won't do that again. But you had the alcohol, vomited everywhere. It was an awful experience.
Yeah,
You
I
keep
did it
going
again.
back.
Sure.
And the thing is, we don't seem to learn. I know that if any of us took a drug and then we had a bad reaction to it, none of us would do it again. But we just seem to have this excuse for alcohol. Must be something wrong with me. I'm going to do it again.
Yeah, it drives me mad
It's
that actually.
weird.
Yeah.
So
And then,
weird. So
and then we
weird.
do that whole thing, don't we? Of, well, I'm not addicted. I did it earlier on, or my drinking was nowhere near like my dad's. Blah blah blah. But actually, perhaps and I've gone back here before in the past. Perhaps I was addicted. Just because I wasn't physically dependent doesn't mean you're not addicted to a feeling or a buzz or an escape or a way of relaxing. You're addicted to what you believe it can give you, aren't you?
Yeah, and I think that's a really interesting point to take it on to like the next bit of sobriety. It's finding what it is that why you were drinking.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of people who stop drinking and immediately replace it with something else equally as addictive, like marathons and if you stop doing that and if you go and sit with yourself for 2 weeks on your own, I challenge you, then all the real stuff's going to come up. And then you're really going to have to look at your triggers because they'll all come back because you're not running it off, and sit with yourself and start to really address, right, what was going on there? Why did I pick up that drink? And it probably goes back to that 12-year-old self. And you say, right, why did I need to feel like that all the time?
It's so true that is so true what you're saying. But I can't even sit on my own on an evening, Holly.
No.
Still.
I'm crap,
if I have to sit on an evening and my family are watching something on TV, I'll pick up my phone and start scrolling because I get bored. I want to move, and I don't think it's because I find relaxation in movement. I genuinely think it's because I'm not comfortable just sat.
Yeah, most people aren't. We're not really taught how to sit with ourselves. We're not taught how to be with ourselves. And there's so many distractions in the world at the moment. We've constantly got like 1,000 sensory things happening at once. But yeah, I think learning to sit by yourself is a skill. And for me, yoga has been like the gateway to me being able to be comfortable and sit with myself. And I mean, I can't believe it. I journal, I meditate. I don't know who I am. I've become this complete, I just want to, I'd love to just go and live in India and sit on a mountain.
Oh, nice.
And just because, you kind of just get such a different perspective when you start kind of doing the deep work. But it hasn't been easy at all for me. It's, it's been really intensive. It's been really expensive. I've paid a lot of money to train to become a coach. My dad, bless him, he's paid for this really expensive. I mean, I'm 45 and my dad paid for my therapy. Because when I actually got drunk in December last year and I was so upset with myself. And I just was like, I've got to get to the bottom of what this is about, just got to do it. So I committed to EMDR therapy, which is a
That
massive.
before you got sober, then the December before you decided to get sober?
No, I did all of last year.
Oh, wow.
In December, and I knew what my triggers had been, but I was like, I don't want that as an excuse because I've prepared for it, but it's still got me. What was that thing in me that wanted me to get wrecked? Why was it still there? Why was that self-destruct button still there? And I just thought, well, it's my childhood. I know it is. I've had a lot of trauma and then layers of trauma throughout the decades. And I reached out to a few friends who I know had had really difficult situations they had to deal with. And they both said EMDR. And I got put in touch with a therapist. It's £120 a session.
Wow.
And it's a massive commitment because you have to revisit the trauma, you have to absorb into it, you really go back there, and then you have to have all these tools to cope with when you get home and the week after. And then you start to kind of act out the age that you got taken back to in that session. And it's been very.
Oh, that sounds like a
Yeah, that's giving. I can feel my anxiety rising when you're doing
I
that.
could.
Yeah.
I started wanting to say, oh, I want to try that. And now you've started. I'm like, no.
Now, Lisa will not want to go back there, you see. You won't want to sit back with your 12 and 13-year-old self.
No.
It's so hard, but what you do is you find the therapist you trust and you have to like trust the process. A bit like with sobriety, like I think because I've trusted the process, I did the same with this and I had the same attitude towards it. And there were weeks I'd go to her house and I'd say, I don't want to be here today. My body is physically trying to stop me coming into this building. I don't want to be here. It's very resistant. And there'd be some weeks where we'd be doing the EMDR, I'd be looking left to right and I'd hit the painful bit, but then I'd bounce back to only good memories, and she'd be like, you've had enough, you can't go anymore because you're constantly bouncing back to positive things. So we'd end it and we'd do some grounding and breath work, and then that week I'd have quite powerful dreams. A lot of things would come back to me. I'd process things in my dreams.
I would like to do EMDR because I genuinely
look
do
at your NDA, you nearly said.
MDMA, it's on the brain.
I genuinely do think EMDR would help me.
I think it would me, you know. I got a lot from EFT, but I think I'd like to try that.
What worries me about it is, or maybe not worries me, is because I've had counselling a few times in my life overall now. Two or three, I can't remember. But always it's about the thing that's going on at the moment, and always the thing is not the thing, and it goes right back to my childhood, always. And I do feel that this time, but I did last time, like I've dealt with it and I've resolved it. And I don't want to be forced into a position where I have to think back to it. So my question is, when you do EMDR, do you have to go back and consciously remember it, or does the eye movement bring back what's there?
It's almost like you have talking therapy and counselling, and then the therapist will identify which part of that is emotional for you. And then all they'll do is say, you've mentioned that memory to me. Sit there and think about that memory for me and watch this pencil go from left to right. Really? And then you breathe. And then a few minutes later, she'll say, right, where's your mind at now? You know, so I could start off with like me crying in my bed. And then the next memory could be me baking buns with my grandma when I'm 11. You know, and you don't know where it, and what it is it's your brain refiltering everything and putting it where it should be, so that you stop bringing trauma that happened in your past into your present.
What if you don't remember stuff? Can you do it then? Do you think, like, because people block things out, so could you do, like, would it bring things to the surface, do you think, that maybe have been?
Everything will come back. Everything is in there. If your body and your mind are ready to deal with it, it will show itself to you. If it's not, it won't.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Like that. Your body is so good at protecting itself, and your mind is really good at protecting.
Yeah.
It won't let you you won't allow you to get yourself into a really complicated, sticky place.
Oh, you've done so much good work on yourself. Like, you must be really, really proud of yourself. Do you get ever absolutely exhausted with working on yourself and think, right, I've had enough now?
No. No. I know. I've got ADHD though, so I'm never exhausted. I'm just like,
well, we're going to go into that actually. I wanted to talk about ADHD, Alex. With
Oh yeah. I literally just opened up the chat and thought, I wonder if you could bring in your ADHD thing.
Yeah, well, it would go well with drugs and ADHD because so I tried one of my daughter's recently been diagnosed with ADHD and she really wanted to try the medication.
okay.
It's something that we've kind of our family are very like, no, we can do it holistically or naturally or whatever. But she really has been exhausted, like with a brain. She has, bless her, and she really wanted to give it a go. So she's tried the medication. Anyway, she was a bit scared to try it. So I said, come on, I'll do it with you. So we both had an ADHD tablet when I was at work. Well, oh my God, I loved that day. Honestly,
Really?
oh yeah, I loved it. So much so, I've got an assessment on Monday for ADHD.
Oh, have you?
Yeah, I have. Yeah,
Wow.
I'm going it. I've always like people meet me for not very long and like to tell me that I've got ADHD. Somebody phoned me once on Messenger just from my Facebook and said, and I answered because now I'm not as anxious as I used to be when now I've stopped drinking. Do you think you've got ADHD? And I was like, well, you have ringing me to tell me. And just through my Facebook, there was like, I think you've got ADHD. But so it's been a bit of a standard thing, hasn't it, Alex? And the more it's out there and the more things I see on social media, it's very relatable. I thought everybody was like this. It turns out not everybody. A lot of us are. But yeah, I tried the medication and I got a lot from it. Like I got shit done. Like I really did.
Do you not think it could have been placebo, like because you knew you'd had the tablet?
No. Well, this is what I thought, but then I had another one, right? The other day. Olivia rang me and she said, will you come to the Trafford Centre with me? And I was like, Liv. She went, I'll give you one of my tablets.
Get overwhelmed in shopping centres.
We've got a drug dealing theme going on, haven't we?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, from my daughter. But yeah, so I went to the Trafford Centre with one, and it gives me like the only thing I can explain is my mind is constant, like constant. And I've been becoming more aware of how constant it is. But when I had that tablet, it made me realize how constant it is because it kind of just give me clarity. Like for example, walking through the Trafford Centre, I didn't feel like people were hurtling towards me. And you know what I said? It's like it felt like ADHD is a superpower, right? And this is what it felt like. It felt like I just turned it off for a little bit. Just turned it off and give myself a break from so like it's like you can read everybody's minds and think everybody's thoughts and pick up on everybody's energies. And it gave me space from that where I could just go, So as I was walking through, me and Olivia was having a conversation with each other. And we were both like, oh my God, look at this. We're just having a conversation with each other and not going, oh, look at that, look at that, look at this, look at that. And then when we went into the stores, like we normally go in Zara together, and we literally picking up items, right? Me and Liv together going, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? Do you think this looks all right? And our reaction to the other one is, yeah, what do you think of this? What do you think? There's no like communication, a two-way thing. It's really one way. So to actually be able to do that was really nice. And at work, and then this might be really bad. I don't know if I should be saying this on the podcast. So the other day, so we reckon this all stems definitely from my mum, right? So she fully has ADHD. So I'm telling her about it, and she was like, "No, you're exaggerating." So she said, "Right, I've got loads of work to do on Monday. I'm gonna try one." So she tried one right on Monday, and she literally come to my house afterwards. She went, where can we get some of these from?
Really?
She said, I've done 6 months of newsletters, Lisa. 6 months of newsletters. She's normally, I can't get past 2 without being distracted or doing something else. She got all the way, she got like a week's worth of work done in that like time. She said, and then she'd gone to town and she needed to like change a phone contract. She said, and I was in this shop and I literally listened to the other person. She went, I listened to him. She said, in fact, I was that nice a person. He can't wait for me to go back. So we'd had like this, but I did get a lot from it. A lot. So yeah, I'm going to have an assessment on Monday. I don't think I'd like to be a permanent, like on medication. I don't know, maybe we'll see. But I think they might be nice to have now and again when I want a break from myself.
Kind of like a glass of wine.
Maybe. No, it is exhausting being. Do you find that, Holly? If you've got ADHD, do you not get this? It makes total sense why you've done so much in this last like 2 years. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It actually really does.
Yeah.
You've decided to stop drinking. You've gone full hog. You've done your coaching. You've enjoyed yoga. So fuck it. You're going to go and be a yoga teacher. You've sat there talking to your mates. They've gone, you know what? I wish there was a sober dating app. I know.
Could have made one.
I'll make one.
Why did we not pick up on this ADHD-ness right at the beginning? It's so obvious.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's complicated when it comes to medication for ADHD. I've got a friend who is really similar to me, and your story you were just telling about being in Zara. Me and her were in Liverpool in Primark, and we had that exact scenario. And then not really putting the clothes back where they're meant to be. And then I'm like, it's all right, it's okay, people get paid to put them in the right place. It's all right, let's carry on. And I know, like, when I go shopping with my daughter, she finds it really, really hard to be with me full stop in that situation. And my husband, like, I don't even know how you survive in that brain of yours because it doesn't stop. And the said friend that had been in Primark in Liverpool with, she went on the ADHD medication. And I spend a lot of time with her, and I do kind of think like I kind of would like to be like that. And everyone's always like, I'm like her pre-medication, and then she's like what the afterwards is. But I don't know. I'm just a bit concerned about it. I've got thyroid problems. I've got hypothyroidism, which my thyroid health isn't sorted by any means at all. That's my kind of priority in terms of my health. Also, I'm trying to get off citalopram, which was like my promise to myself when I gave up the alcohol. So I'm on half the dose I was on, 18 months ago, and I'm hoping to half it again if I can, like maybe next year. But I'm really cautious about that because it's such an addictive antidepressant, and I hope since I had my boy, and he's 9. No one told me it was addictive. No one told me you're not going to be on it long term. This is also getting sober. But also my EMDR therapist really believes that there's such a strong link between complex PTSD and ADHD that if you can untangle the complex PTSD, that it will really reduce your symptoms of ADHD. And I do feel like I get a lot less overwhelmed for sure. And you know how your brain's constantly saying things over and over and over again. Replaced that with affirmations. In the morning, as soon as I open my eyes, I say, I am amazing, I'm amazing, I'm amazing. I put it on loop, or if I go for a walk and I start getting distracted, I'll just say like, I'm grateful, I'm grateful. And I constantly make sure that the loop is just positive statements. And I think that's helping.
Do you know what my brain's saying, Holly? That I can't believe what a hypocrite, right, I am in this podcast. So I'm going to say it now instead of afterwards, right, to Alex. But I've literally been talking about Alex being pro drugs and alcohol.
When you
telling people to be patient and do breath work and then just confess.
Good point. You should have done breath work before you went to the Trafford Centre.
Yeah, but to be fair, Lisa, you have tried all those things. You have tried it. It's not like you're jumping straight in. You have done a lot of things to try and calm your mind. And you are the only thing you probably haven't done is EMDR. which you might want to give that a go. But
Yeah,
now
I
that
think
those
I
other
do
things
want to
have
give that a
worked, you've
go.
done your cold water dipping, you've done your yoga, you've done your breath work. They don't calm your mind, do they?
They do for the time that I'm doing it, but you can't
But not
walk
after.
around like
You do. You do
Yeah.
actually.
going through the Trafford Centre. Can you bear with me?
And then in it on your way round, Zara's
Oh.
here, Zara's here, Zara's here, chanting.
You know, one of the reasons behind my thinking about the yoga teacher training is that often I get to the yoga class and my intention is always to quieten my mind. That's always my intention. And then obviously by the end of it, I'm like, oh, wow, what's that piece? Yes. But then obviously you get in the car and then
You're like, I could do that. I could do that.
I was like, hang on a minute. What if this was my income? And what if I did like taught 5 of these classes every day? That's
And then
that's
then the
5
brain
hours
chatter
of
starts.
peace every day. So
you've got to be careful. Me and Alex were talking about this the other day on
Yesterday,
the phone.
I was
Yeah,
overwhelmed.
literally saying that everything that we enjoy, we've made into a job. And you've got to be really careful, you know, like even with the set, I promised myself that I would go to sound baths and just enjoy them. But every single one, by the time I come out of it, I was like, I think I could do this. Full set of sound balls now.
the
And
only thing that puts me off is I probably smashed them because I thought I
one
could
did
do
get
that.
smashed.
Oh, there, yeah. I thought
by my ADHD daughter, actually, not me. She went past and tripped and just kind of knocked and it smashed, which cost me a fortune because I ended up buying 2 more.
Do you know what we're saying as well? So like similar sort of thing. It's like me with the organ play, and this is how it came about because I fully don't think I've got ADHD, but everyone around me does. Everybody, I get the same as Lisa. People say, "I think you have got ADHD," and I go, "No, I haven't. I'm just a busy person, right?" So this is how I've got round it, and I don't intend finding out if I have or not, if I'm honest. But I play the organ. That would have
Try
been
one of my tablets next week.
that I know that will look at
DM for detail. No, I'm kidding.
All right, I'll do it. Don't tell anyone. No, seriously, it would have been my escape at one point, and then I now do it as a job at the church. And then I had a funeral to play yesterday, so I was learning this piece, which isn't the type of piece that I would normally play. So I had to then learn a piece that I didn't particularly want to learn, which then makes the thing that I'm relaxed about a job, which then makes me not want to do the thing that I'm relaxed about to be relaxed about it. And I got all and then I come in from how do I relax when everything that I've used to relax, like Lisa's just said, turned it into a job. So yeah, there's a bit of work needs doing, I reckon. That's the moral of that waffle.
And I think we've got to think about this. Like we started like our chaotic existence when we were teenagers, and
mine started in the womb, Holly.
Oh, well, yeah, mine started thinking I was 1. But it's just you add, and it's like natural when you've had like a really difficult start to life. It's quite natural to then fall into really difficult situations. So a lot of us have got an awful lot of stuff that we've got to deal with. It's not just like the childhood shit. It's that what happened for 10 years after the childhood shit. It's probably more shit, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And you know, when you do leave it later to deal with these things like we've all done, it's a whole lot of shit. So, but I
just got loads of shit, haven't we?
But is that not just this is where I just think he's being human sometimes. I don't know a single human being who hasn't got a story.
Yes.
Apart from
all trauma's relative, isn't it?
Yeah.
So everybody has trauma. It's just how you deal with it. Do you act it out and do you make the same mistakes as your parents, or do you identify what went wrong, work on yourself, do the really hard work, be really uncomfortable, cry a lot, scream a lot, be a bit of a wanker, but then come out at the end amazing?
And
don't we hold a lot our parents accountable for a lot? Like it's not really fair, is it?
That's
do you know what I mean?
I think what did I say to you the other week? I'm sure I said it to you. Somebody said to me, remember, it's your parents' first time here too.
Yeah.
And that has really changed my view about my mum and dad and my upbringing.
You've got to do.
They were like me now, muddling the way through life with whatever they had. That's also, not excusing them, it's a fact.
Yeah, and our parents were all brought up by a war generation. So
Yeah.
just such a different perspective on the world to what we've got. You know, they lived in fear of their lives and they had nothing.
But it's a fact, isn't it, that everybody's only, all right, as we are right now, I'll change it for those people who might believe different. Maybe I believe different. It's our first time on this planet as us. Like this.
Yeah, I get where you're going with that. Yeah, because it might not
Just
be.
being a bit careful, yeah.
Yeah, that's all right.
So it's our first time here. So
go sit in a forest and go back to the other life.
So, like, why would we think that our parents knew enough to bring us up any different? And then why would their parents and their parents? Everybody's muddling through for the first time, and the only time in a body that's going to get damaged along the way.
Yeah, you can't blame. I mean, you can't blame your parents for anything because they're products of their environment and stuff.
Yeah.
I certainly don't blame anyone for anything I've been through, but it's made me the person I am today. So I'm just kind of grateful that it happened.
Yeah, we've all got to be here somehow, haven't we? Like,
do you know, once when I lived in Cyprus, right, there was a situation went on which I'm not going to go into, but I'll never forget my cousin's wife at the time. There was this lad there and he was really getting upset. And he was going, oh, I've just come back out the army and my mum and dad, this, that. And she went, shush you. Everybody has a story. We haven't got all night. And then
oh, goodness.
Oh, dear.
But she's right. She's right. You know, anyone can get the violins out if they want. It's just how you choose to look at the world. You've got a choice in how you think about things, haven't you?
I fully agree with that. I think that's a really nice end, actually, because you do have a choice. I say this to Rob when he comes back pissed off from work and like, got to go work tomorrow. I'm like, well, you've got to go no matter what. So you either choose to go with a smile on your face or you can choose to be miserable. It's up to you. But whatever,
or you can choose to leave if you can.
Yeah, that's another thing. Yeah.
Job in Tesco's.
You know,
sometimes it's easier.
I feel like we were going to talk fully about sober dating. I don't know where we went to today, but I
enjoyed
proper ADHD conversation by all three of us.
I bet we've exhausted our listeners. They'll be like, what the hell's just happened?
I know, like, listen to some nice calming music after this. Honestly, I was really looking forward to speaking to you and you've not disappointed, Holly. It's been really lovely. Before we do go, do you just want to reel off the list of where people can find you and how they can get to your landing page as well on the app?
Oh, right. Yeah, great. So my coaching business is hellohollycoaching.com. If you want to look at my retreats, it's just stick a /retreats on there. You can also go to Hello You on Facebook, which is the retreats page. And then Soda Dates is on Instagram, but you can find it through the Hello Holly Coaching. Instagram.
Brilliant. Please will you drop us an email with all your links so we can pop them in the podcast notes. And before we do go, is there anything that
we don't mean later, we mean now, because we do the notes now.
Yeah, please would you do it now? Keep that sign on your door and do them now.
Do it now.
Lovely. Is there anything that you wanted to say before we go?
Oh, well, I know I love your motto. And I just wanted to say that my favourite bit of it is the be kind.
Should we ask you? Should we do it proper?
Yeah, let's do it.
Because we haven't been using it this season, so we'll finish on it.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
But our motto is be brave, be kind, be sober. Which one of these do you most relate to right now and why? Can't believe I remembered that.
Oh, thank you. Definitely be kind, because being kind to yourself is the most important thing that you'll ever do, because if you're kind to yourself, you'll be kind to everybody else. And always speaking nicely to yourself, doing affirmations and just using really kind words, I think is really important, especially for people who've got ADHD.
Yeah.
Oh, do you know
what?
If you're
not a natural kind person, practice it.
I'll just finish with saying one of my clients, and if they listen, and they might listen, said something to me yesterday about not liking what they saw in the mirror. And I said to my client, remember, there's lots and lots of people aspire to be just like you. And it's so true. Like, you're always somebody's example, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Hopefully she'll feel better soon and practice some affirmations.
I hope so.
Well, thank you so much for having me on, girls. It's been absolutely amazing fun. Thank you.
Thank you.
You've been amazing.
So much. See you later, Holly.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.